Right. We are so excited. So we are talking about today about the DACA and getting ready, types to get ready for the new applications and advanced parole. And we're going to give you a quick little history of where we are right now about DACA, and then what to do to get ready. So thanks so much for joining us today. And we've already gone through our bios, really appreciate that. So our learning objectives is what's going on with DACA right now, as of December 4th, 2020, because it's constantly changing. So this is our update. And then what's next for DACA recipients, what can you do to get ready to apply, and the future under Biden, alternatives if necessary. So we're just going to do a quick run through all of that for you. So what's going on right now? Oh man, it's been, I don't know. I feel like it's a movie almost. It was created in June 2012. It started, you could start applying in August 2012. Everything was going fine under the Obama administration. Then Trump administration put it on halt in September, I think it was 5th, 2017. Right after us Houstonians had Hurricane Harvey. And then there was litigation. What really meant for those 3 years was that people could not apply for new DACA. So if they weren't eligible before because they weren't old enough or what have you, or maybe they tried but it got rejected, they couldn't submit a new one, and they also couldn't get the advanced parole for the travel permission. So then in June, the Supreme Court said that the reason that the Trump administration tried to get rid of DACA was arbitrary and capricious, and we waited for guidance. Long story short, USCIS was like, yeah, we're not going to take new applications. And then there was this Wolf memo, and there's some more litigation. Oh, so much litigation. But anyway, on July 28th, the Wolf memo suspended DACA pending review. And then November 14th, so just a few weeks ago, found that the July 2020 memo severely curtailed DACA and barred initial applications, was issued without legal authority because Wolf was not properly serving as the acting Secretary of Homeland Security. Because actually what's happened is that under a lot of Trump roles in the cabinet, many things that people are just sort of acting in that role. What do you call it? They're not confirmed properly by the Senate. And that's been for a lot of roles. So then they were going to have a conference on it, and then they were going to decide. But really, we're just so close. We're literally like about 46 days away from the inauguration. I feel like I have a countdown. And so we might not get the clarity on that. That's going to make us all feel all nice and comfortable about submitting new ones during the Trump administration. But what we are going to say is it's about, I'd say 99.999% sure that DACA will be in its full force very soon after Biden goes into office. He gets inaugurated January 20th, 2021. And so what we are telling you is that if you have been following this unfortunate saga for all these many years, and definitely this last 6 months, and if you are eligible for a new DACA, you're just now, you never filed before, it got rejected, now you're wanting to submit it, or you just become of age to be able to apply, or if you want to get that advanced parole, then let's get ready now. Let's do it now. And so that's the point of this, is that we want to be there for you to go over those things. So because what we'll tell you is that some of these documents take a while to collect, and we just don't want you to come to us on, January 20th and then say, okay, how do we get started? And it could take another 6 weeks or so to get that going. So that's why we wanted to talk to you about this. So some of the commonly asked questions are, can I apply for DACA? How do I apply? Do I need to review? Where do I apply? So we're going to talk a little bit about those in here. So Attorney Milian, what are some of the basics for those who might not know, for those who could apply for DACA?
Yeah, so some of the basic qualifications for the person that can apply is you have to meet this criteria. You have to be under 31 years of age, June 15, 2012. must be at least 15 years of age to apply, or there's no age requirement. If there's a removal order, you have to have continuously resided in the U.S. from June 15, 2007 until present, entered the U.S. without, whether entered or not, the U.S. without inspection, or whose visa expired before June 15, 2012. There's an education requirement that we're going to talk about that you have to meet. You can't have a criminal record. DACA has what are called significant misdemeanors. If you get involved with one of those, then you lose your ability to apply and renew your DACA, and you can't pose a threat to public safety.
So we gave you a little bit of a cheat sheet of what you need to do to start getting ready. We normally give these to our clients that have hired us, but we really want you to get ready so you're not waiting till the last minute, because some of these things do take time. So we'll run through some of them. Of course, they could make some little tweaks and changes, but this is what we do know that they've requested in the past. So Attorney Milian, you can get started.
So yeah, we can alternate. So the first thing is you want to make sure you have passport style photos. You're going to need this for any application, essentially, almost that you will file within immigration. You can get those at Walgreens or CVS, and that's going to be for your actual work permit application. You also are going to need some sort of identification if you have a passport. If you don't have a passport, then this is a good time for you to start going to get that a consulate. If you have a birth certificate, make sure that it also has a photo ID or a national identification document that has a photo or some sort of fingerprint on it. And with all of these documents, if it's in Spanish or in a different language, make sure that you have a translation for it as well, because anything that you file with immigration or USCIS has to be in English. Again, birth certificate, proof of when you entered. If you entered, that the entry was before you were 16. So if you have a passport that has an admission stamp, then get that, an I-94 card. If you don't have legal proof that you entered with a passport, then, if you were enrolled in school or your parents have a bill or anything else that can prove that you were here before your 16th birthday.
That's right. And when we say English translation, it just has to say it's a true and accurate translation from whatever language to English. And the person is, says they're bilingual in the two languages and they sign it. It doesn't have to be wax, ribbon, seal, notarized, anything.
None of that.
But you want to make sure that it is actually accurate, because this will be used for lots of different aspects of your case. So you want to be able to prove you were present in the United States on June 15th, 2012. And you're like, Ruby, that was 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago. I don't know if I have proof of that. I was a little kid. Well, you're going to have to try and try really hard. So were you in school? Did you go to the doctor? Were you listed in some taxes? Did you, what were you doing? And so they're going to want to make sure that you have that proof. And then point 6 can be approved, satisfied different ways. One of them is through school. And for most people, they just show that they graduated from high school, or maybe they did a GED. In the very early days, 8 years ago, when there was some GED programs that were deemed not certified, and so a lot of people were getting rejected for that. So you just want to make sure that it's certified, reputable, and then it meets the qualifications. But you don't have to have finished high school. There's other possibilities. You could be currently in school. It could be in a trade or language program. There was a lot of guidance as to alternatives. You also, 8.6b would be honorably discharged from the military, and so there were some options there. But the biggest thing is that at the time that you apply, that you meet the qualification. Because if you're like, I'm gonna finish my GED later, that won't meet the qualifications. So you have to just double check that, because there was a lot of people who got a little rejected or denied because they didn't follow it exactly the way you have to do it. But the reason why we would be talking about this now is, like, if you're trying to go find proof from 8.5 years ago, you should go look for that now, because it could take a while to pull those up, especially during COVID and the holidays. I mean, between now and January 20th, there's a lot of holidays. I think there's like at least 3 or 4 federal holidays. And so the schools closed down and stuff like that. So let's go get those documents. That was my, okay. And then this is the one that's going to be a lot of work. Proving, number 7, that you've been here since June 15, 2007 to now, to now. So yes, that is 13 and a half years. Yeah. So, you know, some people say you should have like a few documents per year. You know, honestly, they haven't not accepted new DACAs since around September 2017. So we will likely get new guidance because there'll be a new administration and they haven't done this in a while. Like all those USCIS officers haven't done a new DACA for like literally 3.5 years. So the answer is, how many documents should I get per year? I don't know. I would say a good test would probably be about 4 maybe per year. And if you can get documents that can show the longevity of you being in the country, that'd be great. But this is where a lot of people can not make the cut because they can't find these documents. So that's why we wanted you to get a head start. So financial records, employment records, hospital records, school records, anything. Maybe your parents saved stuff about you when you were a kid, but you know, you got to figure out where you can find proof that you're here. The proof of economic hardship, you don't have to work very hard on that one. Most people just say, I need money to pay my bills. And they usually say, this is how much I make, which most people don't have work authorization. So, but we still say that whatever they make, if they can work, they work. And then also how much their expenses are. We've never had a problem with this prong at all. And then if needed, criminal record proof, because we're going to need to prove that whatever the record is, if there is one, does not disqualify you, like Attorney Milian said, and that you still meet the qualifications. A lot of case law has changed and everything over the years, but they're pretty strict. If it's a DWI, a true DWI, you're not qualified. We've had some people have those type of situations. Well, they've been public intoxication or something else. Those have been fine, but a DWI can keep you out of the running for this. And so it's important to have your criminal records analyzed and have the complete record. So Attorney Milian, what else do we need?
Yeah, so if you did, for some reason, did leave the US, there was a brief departure before August 15, 2012, and you need to show documents that can demonstrate that that departure was brief, casual, and innocent, and you can do that with plane tickets, passport entries, or any documentation that you have that. If you've had any encounters with an immigration judge, if you've had a prior removal order or a voluntary departure, a final order, then you want to make sure that you submit that with your paperwork as well. Any orders from the judge or from the Board of Immigration Appeals, if that's applicable. And you have to prove your unlawful status on June 15, 2012. It's not applicable if you entered without inspection and were never in removal proceedings.
Right. And, you know, I think we'll probably see the DACA go into the original memo, but what we might also see are some tweaking, like some of the little provisions like that. Some of the provisions that make it harder for people to get approved, maybe hopeful, wishful thinking, they would maybe eliminate that or soften the requirements. We'll see. You know, we've got to keep an open mind. But I do think that, you know, the Dreamers are a big concern of the Biden administration. So other things to consider are the advanced parole. How can I travel after I receive DACA? So the way it normally worked before September 2017 is that if you had DACA, you could apply for advanced parole, and you just had to have a valid passport from your home country. And that's really what a lot of people sometimes don't have. So that's something you should be working on right now, especially during COVID and everything. It could be taking a while. And then you had to have a reason of why you need to go. So you could apply for this permission. You had to have valid DACA, and then you could apply for the advanced parole. So it'd be a benefit when you could travel. So you'd have to have one of three reasons. One of them would be that you either needed to study abroad, you show the program, the timing, the dates, that you needed to work abroad, or the humanitarian, which is the one that we saw often. You were visiting an elderly or sick relative, and you usually had a doctor's note explaining what was going on with their diagnosis and their status. So we didn't have I don't think we ever had a problem with the humanitarian elder visit relative option, as long as we had the documentation. And then if you had to submit all of that, and then if it was approved, there's a filing fee of $360, then you were given permission to travel. Sometimes it was very limited. You could only travel for maybe like a 1 month period or what have you. But when you came back in, you would be given, you'd be paroled back in. You would have what we call like a legal entry in a way, which would open up opportunities for adjustment of status with an immediate relative or give you other options. So you would be thinking about humanitarian, educational, or employment reasons. Now, if this is something, if you already have DACA, or you can get DACA in the future, and this is something that would be that would help your case, or you really just want to travel for these reasons, then you really should do things in advance. Biggest things are getting the passport, getting the proof of what the trip is for, and making sure that you're ready to file when it opens up. So what's the future for DACA? I mean, really, it's what we've said every time. Congress is the one that should act. President-elect Biden could put it back into full force. It could always be challenged, so that's not permanent. But for the most part, people are behind the dreamers around the country. And so I think what will happen is we're all looking to Georgia and the Senate write-offs. Depending on that, we'll see if the Democrats or the Republicans have the majority in the Senate. But even if it's a slim majority, either way, I think it could open up for passing a DREAM Act. It won't be a problem in the House because it's been passed before, but the Senate's the issue, and there won't be a problem in the White House. So we'll continue to monitor that. And the other thing, what I think is really exciting is that, a DREAM Act could so there's DACA, but the DREAM Act could encompass more people than DACA, because DACA limits certain people. They had to be this age on this date. Really, all the DACA recipients are less than 39 and a half years old right now. But there's some people who are a little older than 39 and a half and still would consider themselves dreamers and would benefit from a program. And then there's some people who might be younger than 15, not in removal, and still would benefit from DREAM Act. And so, I think that we need to think about the DREAM Act should be even broader than what DACA is today, and that's would be great. So Biden has a lot of plans for the first 100 days for immigration, and DACA is way up there. He also has plans to find a way for a legal pathway for the 11 million undocumented immigrants that are in the country, among other things. And so that's where we're really excited that this can impact, DACA and dreamers that might not have been eligible before. And, like we've seen on lots of our consults, a person could be a great dreamer DACA candidate, but they have a DWI. Like, what if we had a DREAM Act that, a DWI doesn't kick you out of the program? So there's a lot of things that we could be looking at. And there's a lot of talk about how we need to solve this issue. So what are some of the alternatives to DACA? So like, we're hoping we're going to get it. I mean, I'm 99% sure we're going to get it. But let's say, I don't know, it doesn't happen, or they're not eligible, or what have you. What are some other things to think about, Attorney Milian?
Sure. So if it doesn't happen, then if you find yourself married to someone who's a U.S. citizen, or even if they have lawful permanent residence, then adjustment of status can be something that you can benefit from. Or even if you had a petition from someone a long time ago, you can probably be eligible for something called 245I adjustment of status. There's also something called the provisional waiver. This takes a long time, about 2 years or more, to get the whole process so that you can eventually get an immigrant visa and then become a permanent resident, but it's worth it. We've had, very high rates of success among our clients. There's also asylum, but you want to be very careful with that, especially with a lot of new changes that have happened in the past couple of months. And if you're considering asylum and you've been here all this time, then you would have to show reasons for why you are now applying. There's also cancellation of removal, but that is only available if you're in removal proceedings, like an immigration court. And for that, you have to remember that you need to have 10 years or more of physical presence in the US, good moral character, and you need to have the qualifying relatives that would suffer that extreme and unusual hardship if you were to get sent back to your country.
The other thing, speaking about court and DACA, is that I think recently they've been reopening administratively closed cases, and those who have DACA now, who might have been able to administratively close their court cases in the past, are now being given hearing dates. We're not really sure how that's going to play out, considering if they have DACA, I don't really know what we're supposed to talk about in court, because that gives them a protection. We're hoping that that's just a temporary measure and that will be reversed soon under the Biden administration. But if that happens to you, if you previously had your case administratively closed and you get notice, just remember that whoever was your last attorney, if you had one, they're the ones going to get the notices. And if you know they're no longer your attorney, you might want to call the 1-800 number for immigration court and make sure that you don't have a hearing date, so that you don't miss it. And that number is 1-800-898-7180, right? Yes. And you put your A number in there. So we hope we energize you, it got you excited. DACA is around the corner, and soon in the horizon, we'll see a DREAM Act. I'm serious. It'll happen. It'll happen. If it's going to happen, it should happen in 2021.
Yeah.
And yes, we should get it. We should get it while we have that momentum, and we need to do this for our dreamers. So anything else we need to cover? We just want to let you know that we're here for you. We're always trying to give you up-to-date information that can be applicable. We're going to keep monitoring what we think is the most important information. But the reason why we want to talk about this today, like I've already said a few times, is we want you to get ready. We want you to get those documents in order, because we don't want you to be starting to collect them right when this gets opened up. We want, what we saw with the whole debacle of the Supreme Court decision and back and forth, was that even when there was that window of opportunity, it still took a lot of clients. You've got kids, you've got jobs, you've got COVID, you've got the holidays. We know you've got a lot going on, but we want to make sure that you can maximize this time. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll let you take it away, Dana or Attorney Milian, if you have any other parting thoughts.
Attorney Milian? Okay.
No, as always, Dana's going to say it. If anything does happen, just follow one of our pages. We will immediately notify you of any changes.
Yeah, so thank you ladies for all this awesome information, and as we cannot say enough, we just want you guys to be ready, so everything is ready to go. There's no holding back, just you're ready to go and hold on to your boots. So we will be giving you guys all the information if we get notified or anything changes, on DACA, but we are hopeful. We are speaking it into existence that we're going to have a DREAM Act in 2021. And, we'll see where that goes, but we're manifesting over here. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today and joining us on our DACA webinar today. If you guys, again, have any other questions, or anyone who is a DACA recipient, a dreamer, wants to be a dreamer, but have questions or you know, don't know what's next, well, you know, they can contact us at 713-589-2085 or send us an email at contact@rubypowerslaw. And of course, our team of awesome attorneys who you guys already met will be there to answer any questions that you all may have on that. And as for our webinars, our next webinar is going to be on So You Have a 21-year-old. Kind of sounds like a Dr. Who book, but basically, we're going to be just giving you guys all the inside scoop on what you can do if you have a 21-year-old child who is a citizen.
That's right. And what your options are in immigration, because this is another area where we want you to be thinking in advance. You don't need to call us on their birthday. You can call, we want you to know what your options are. You might need to do FOIAs, you might need to do some other research. And so we want you to be ready for that moment.
So yeah, guys, if you guys missed any of our past webinars, Power is Hour, check those out. They're on our YouTube and on our Facebook. And if you just by chance cannot get a hold of those, just send us an email and our team will be sure to send you a direct link to where you can find those. And we hope to see you all next week. So follow us on our social medias, sign up to our newsletter. That's where we give you guys all the inside scoop, all the deets, anything new that we hear about. It's bi-weekly, filled with good information, and any of our upcoming presentations are also included. So thank you guys so much. And I will be leaving the link down below to register for our So You Have a 21-year-old webinar on Friday. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.